The African Union was formed in 1963. Africa Day acknowledges the progress Africans have made, while at the same time reflects upon the common challenges it faces in a global environment.
Between 1945 and 1965, a significant number of African countries gained independence from European colonial powers. On the 6th of March 1957, Ghana became the first African country south of the Sahara to gain independence. In 1958, the first Conference of Independent African States, convened by Ghana under the leadership of Kwame Nkrumah, called for the observance of African Freedom Day once a year. Consequently, 15th of April was enacted and called African Freedom Day. It marked the beginning of what would later be known as Africa Day.
One people, one destiny. One destiny, one people.
The dream of the founding fathers and liberators of the continent.
We must remember that the mission of those who founded the OAU, now the AU, was first to unite the Africans and unite them and galvanize and mobilize them to free the rest of Africa.
Africa has a number of challenges to contend with, such as armed conflict, climate change and poverty. And today, economic challenges abound and unity is the only way to go.
We should therefore continue working in unity to make Africa a continent of hope for the youth and future generations.
Hope that appears to be eluding the continent as young people live and die in oceans.
We cannot continue to allow a situation where our able-bodied men and women embark on risky and perilous journeys across the oceans in search of a supposedly better world.
South Africa is celebrating Africa Day within a month-long celebration. The Africa Month program will strengthen the socio-cultural, economic and political relations among African nations. Lehana Trotetsi, SABC News, Johannesburg.
As Africans across the continent prepare to celebrate Africa Day, there are calls for the promotion of indigenous culture and identity.
A uniquely African expression and celebration of cultural heritage. African leaders have for decades criticized the continent's youth for abandoning indigenous customs in favor of international global cultural trends. But as the world observes Africa Day, Didao tsa Koma traditional dancers from Soweto are fighting to preserve their African identity through dance.
We could go look for work like our peers, but it is our responsibility to protect and showcase our culture, because it will die if no one preserves it. It is important for us not to forget who we are.
And on the other side of Johannesburg, expats living in South Africa observe their cultural heritage in another way.
Traditional African dishes are also another way through which Africans from right across the continent celebrate and document their unique cultural heritage. Bon appetit!
Really, it's part of African tradition and culture because it's prepared in African way. And you can see people who usually come to eat African food, they are from Africa. They love the food. Even though other people from other countries, they eat African food. But we know this is African food.
Africa Day is observed as a public holiday in 6 African countries, namely Ghana, Mali, Namibia, Zambia, Lesotho, and Zimbabwe. Celebrations, though, are held in other African countries, including South Africa, as well as by Africans in the diaspora. Tumalo Mohlaudi, SABC News, Johannesburg.
At least 100